things interesting. So keep them coming, Blizzard, but keep it reasonable. And please, leave Roadhog alone! Leave Roadhog alone! Hello and welcome back to Int Plus One channel. This is Carl, and today is June 20th, 2017. We are doing the Overwatch patch notes. This is patch 1.12.0.2, released on PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4 for Overwatch. This is live, and I am really excited. So, I'm a little bit later than I wanted to be. I started a new job this week. Really exciting stuff, but let me not talk about that for very long. Alright, so let's jump right in to the patch notes. First, the big exciting thing is that we have the new assault map, Horizon Lunar Colony. Built as a first step towards humanity's renewed exploration of space, the Horizon Lunar Colony's goal was to examine the effects of prolonged extraterrestrial habitation on human and ape alike. The scientists' research proved incredibly promising until suddenly all contact and communications with the base were lost. So I've actually been playing the Lunar Colony map on the PTR for a while now. I think it's been on PTR for the last 2 weeks. It is a lot of fun. It's really very functionally different from the other maps of its type, because there's really all these big wide open areas, but it's also a mostly indoor map. It does have a tall ceiling, so characters like Pharah aren't necessarily, less useful, for instance, but it really gives an advantage to flankers, and it makes it very hard, I think, to maintain a very strong defense. It almost favors attacking, but we'll see. This was actually activated today, not only in quick play and not only in arcade, but also in competitive. And actually, there was a mistake made by Blizzard where they said that it was going to be deactivated for a week, and then they redacted that statement later on, saying that, oops, no, that's just what we do with heroes. We don't actually have a system in place for deactivating maps. So that's really interesting. I actually did think they would go ahead and make the map not available for a week. So now that it's actually in the live rotation, this is going to affect your competitive game. So we'll see how that works, right? That's going to be a little interesting. I definitely think it's going to be an adjustment that people need to make. But then again, Season 5 is all about adjustments, because we have a lot of character or hero adjustments that are happening as well. All right. New legendary skins. Oni, Genji, and Officer Diva have been added to the classic loot boxes. Now, apparently this decision was made because they felt like it wasn't fair to console players who had to, get Heroes of the Storm on their PC and play it on PC just to earn the Officer Diva and Oni Genji skins. So they've been added to the full loot box pool as regular legendaries, from my understanding. And I like that, because we don't really have new legendaries outside of like event legendaries. And in fact, of course, there were 11 legendary skins for the Overwatch anniversary update. And besides that, the only legendary skins that have been added, unless you count the new characters, like when they added Sombra and Orisa and Ana, were the two for Reinhardt when they added the Eichenwald map. So I'm glad to see them increasing the base pool. I'd like to see them do that a little bit more. I think tying all these skins just to events it makes it exciting for an event, but there really does need to be a larger base pool of skins. I digress. Custom games and game browser. Player gravity and projectile gravity can now be modified. This, of course, is because the Horizon Lunar Colony actually is debuting, a reduced gravity mode when you actually go outside. There's like a flank route where you actually go into space. And don't ask me how they breathe. I have no idea. We're just supposed to suspend belief on that. Let's see. Knockback magnitude can now be modified on any weapons or abilities that have a knockback effect. So things like the concussive blast for Pharah, Lucio's boop. And at this point, I'm so used to calling it the boop that I don't even remember what the Lucio's ability is actually called. But everybody knows it as a boop anyway. Let's see, jump height can now be modified. So it looks like you can increase jump height as well as decrease it. I actually didn't get a chance to play any of the low gravity maps except for the Horizon Lunar Colony, because every time I tried to queue in PTR for a low grav like 6v6, I would sit there for like 5 and 7 minutes and never get matched into a game. So I'm hoping to get a chance to try that now on live. We've got a lot of really crazy hero updates. Okay, so the McCree changes, we saw these on PTR. Deadeye. Targets now began locking on at 0.2 seconds instead of 0.8 seconds. And damage accumulated over the first 1 second increased from 20 to 80. And that's damage per second after the first 1 second is changed. So there's an initial jump in damage when Deadeye begins to lock on. And then if you hold it for a while, it goes back to the 20 damage per second. This is actually going to make it easier for McCree to get off his Deadeye and do some damage. But also, if he holds it down, you know, it's still going to have the advantage of doing more damage, right? But, you know, the thing about Deadeye is, for the most part, a good McCree is always going to usually get, like, major hero kills with it. This just lets you get it off more quickly before you're killed. Kind of that Pharah syndrome, right? You know, the moment that Pharah jumps in and, you know, death or justice reigns from above, right? And she just stands there, and she is like the easiest target in the world to hit. She also has one of the most damaging ults, so it's, you know, this kind of this really interesting risk versus reward deal. McCree, you know, of course, when he's on the enemy team, you hear it's high noon, and he lights up like a Christmas tree, and he starts walking slowly, and I feel like this kind of offsets his vulnerability during that, right? I mean, he really is in a very vulnerable position when he begins to execute his ultimate ability. So this is kind of an interesting change. We'll see how it goes. Developer comments, McCree's ultimate can deal a lot of damage if it has a lot of time to build up, but it was often too difficult to even get a small amount of damage out before being stopped or killed. These changes make it more flexible and powerful. I actually don't really have a problem with this. I think that, yes, McCree has needed this for a while, and McCree pick rates have actually been going down over time in favor of an attacker like Soldier 76. But being effectively the only other really good hit scan character, I'm glad to see them making him more viable in potentially, in some cases, in place of Soldier 76. But he is in such a good position, even with that damage change from 20 to 19, which I didn't feel like was a big change, that I still see Soldier being a bigger pick over McCree. All right, Reaper. Reaper has gotten some huge changes, and I talked about this a little bit on the PTR. But now, the fact that they have made these changes live, they pushed them to live today, let's talk about it, okay? So, the Reaping, it's a new passive. They have basically removed the health orbs that would appear after you would kill an enemy character, an enemy hero, and those health orbs would restore your health. Now, what they've done is they've traded those health orbs for getting back 20% of all the damage done to heroes' health. Now, let me talk about why this is a big deal. Reaper doesn't have necessarily a great pick rate at the moment, although that may have changed as of today, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who are like, oh, yeah, I'm a Reaper main. You're going to see a lot more pumpkins out on the field. I love that pumpkin Reaper skin, by the way. The thing is that this actually makes him incredibly difficult to kill during a Death Blossom, because if he teleports in and uses a Death Blossom, he's spinning around, he's shooting everyone within that arc, he's gaining health as he's doing that, right? So the more damage that he's doing and taking out team members, you can be shooting him and you will probably not offset the damage that he's doing and healing himself. So instead of him being in a vulnerable position while doing Death Blossom, this is an effective board wipe now. Like a really effective one. This is a better board wipe than Pharah. This is a better board wipe than than Deadeye. Okay. I don't know, right? Did Reaper need a buff? I'm a Mercy main. I find this terrifying. I already have a hard time taking down Reaper. Reaper is a good, effective flanker at times. Characters like Sombra sometimes actually can outflank him, or Tracer. And I feel like Tracer tends to be a better pick than Reaper. But this change makes Reaper so self-sufficient that I'm actually doubting that right now. I think that the weakest of the flankers, well, I'm not sure. Let me think on that, actually, because this is pretty this is a pretty big deal. All right, developer comments. Reaper's old healing passive was useful if you could kill a bunch of enemies in a row, but since enemies needed to be dead for it to work, it wasn't very helpful unless the situation was already in your favor. His new passive lets him get immediate benefit from him, especially when fighting tank heroes, which tend to be larger targets that deal lower damage. And in fact, actually, in this situation, if you are a Reaper against like a Hog, now, he can be doing his take a breather. You can be shooting him. You can be healing yourself off of him, right? Like, he is a health sponge for you. With the changes to the hook and the decreased amount of damage per shot, even with the increased clip size, I actually feel like Reaper is now an effective counter to Hog. Maybe a bit of an effective counter to D.Va, except of course her movement abilities really allow her to get out of dodge if she needs to. And of course with Defense Matrix, you can also mitigate a lot of that. So, interesting change. I bet you there are going to be a lot more Reaper mains in Season 5. Roadhog. Oh, poor Roadhog. Leave Roadhog alone! Oh, yeah. Head hitbox size reduced by 20%. That's going to increase his survivability. That's going to make things like Scattershot a little less effective against him. This is also going to mean that in order to kill Hog effectively, or to deal critical damage, you're going to need to aim well. That is a net buff, but then let's take a look at his scrap gun. Because bullet damage has been decreased by 33%. Okay, it does a full third less damage than it used to. The fire rate has increased by 30%. So he does fire faster. And I've seen this in action, and it looks exciting. And they also did increase his clip size from 4 to 5. But let me tell you, between the hook changes and that initial bullet damage change, Hog no longer can reliably kill low health heroes. Okay, so that was his primary utility. Okay, he would go in with his hook. He'd catch you out of position. He would pull you in. He might do a mixture of a melee and a headshot if he could, or whatever. But because of all these changes now, you cannot guarantee that 200 or 250 points worth of damage needed to kill the squishies. Okay, you can maybe kill a Zenyatta if you're lucky. You're probably always going to kill maybe a Mercy or a D.Va out of mech. But Hog is in a worse position, and I guess they're trying to push him back into the tank category. So Hog has traditionally been used as an off tank, has been used as a damage dealer instead of as a tank. And this does relegate him a little bit more to that. Now, if you can do damage over time, it's still less, right? So if we're decreasing the bullet damage by 33% and increasing the fire rate by 30%, you need that fifth shot to do more damage over a similar period of time. Now, yes, adding that extra shot does offset, kind of a longer altercation. But that's not what Hog was built on, okay? Hog was built to grab you, kill you, or do a almost fatal amount of damage. And that has changed. And I feel bad for Roadhog mains. Maybe we'll see this reversed, or maybe this will honestly be the state of things to come. Developer comments on this. Roadhog's head was abnormally large compared to a similarly sized character. So we're reducing its size to increase his survivability. The scrap gun changes reduce the power of his hook combo and alternate fire burst damage potential while still keeping his DPS roughly the same. And again, I think they're fundamentally misunderstanding his use case. His use case was built around the scrap gun hook melee combo. It was a one-hit, well, 3-hit kill, I guess. But it had its utility, and Roadhog has lost his primary utility. Oh, as a Mercy main, I guess that makes me happy, but I really don't like to see him get changed that much. He's becoming more and more useless with each patch, it seems. User interface updates. A quick summary of each player's most played heroes is now available by highlighting the player in the group section of the social menu. Statistics displayed will dynamically change based on the mode/rule set. A new all modes option has been added to the career profile that allows players to view combined stats from all game modes. I've wanted to see that for a while, just a series of consolidated stats. Also, actually, a little bit of a shout out to this website called masteroverwatch.com. I've actually been looking at that a lot, and it's really cool to see how you stack up against people. Apparently on PC as Mercy, I'm in the top 6% for healing. At one point, I was in the top 1%. I guess I started doing badly. I am unsure. But still, it's really cool to kind of check in and see where you are compared to the community. And I'm also actually happy to see them, at Blizzard, actually adding features that let you see at a glance how you're doing. All right, let's see here. A new all competitive seasons option has been added to the career profile that allows players to view combined stats from all competitive play seasons. Currently, or not currently, because this is live now, but prior, you could only, pick current competitive season and 2 and 3 and 4. So having all those stats together is actually really good. I'm going to need to check that on myself, actually. I would like to see how it all averages out. The damage done statistic has been replaced with hero damage done in multiple locations. Like, for instance, if you're on console, on PS4, and you hold down the touchpad, you can actually see it at the bottom left-hand corner. I noticed this recently. It's a nice little change, I guess. It lets you know that it's specifically that hero. A new barrier damage done statistic has been added to the statistics section of the career profile, as well as an all damage done statistic, which combines damage done to barriers and heroes. Averages are now calculated in 10-minute slices rather than by the number of games played. That's a big deal. Okay, so before, if you had a game that lasted 5 minutes, it would have the same weight as a game that lasted 20. Okay, so for characters like Mercy who are looking at their healing stat, you're trying to average out a 3,000 healing in a very quick capture against 15,000 healing on a payload map. It's really hard to gauge your performance because it's actually going to lower it and make your stats look worse. So this is a very welcome change. By taking segments and then averaging them out based on the actual length of the game, I think this solves a lot of the statistical issues that I had in the past. Let's see here. Rate this match option no longer appears at the end of the match. That was a PC-only feature, actually, and I never even knew it existed until I started playing the PC version. But basically at the top there were 3 little circles. You could plus and minus and kind of rate the match. But people used it in such a way that was sort of disingenuous. They would use it to say, oh, this was a terrible match when the other team just kind of steamrolled them. Or as people say, they were salty, right? So the new hero damage done statistic is the same as the old damage done statistic, but it doesn't include damage done to barriers, only damage against heroes and placed objects. So I actually misinterpreted that. So it actually is, yes, all the damage minus non-character entities. That number can be found in the new barrier damage done or the all damage done statistic, which that all damage done is going to roll in the damage to shields and barriers in addition to damage done against heroes. Okay. So also the old statistics were calculated by taking a total damage inflicted and dividing it by the number of games played. This resulted in an average that didn't accurately reflect the underlying performance because it didn't take into account the length of the games. The new averages are calculated in 10-minute slices. And so we already discussed that. No need to go over that again. And look at our laundry list of bug fixes. All right, so what do we have? General, fixed an issue causing players to lose progress on their on-fire meter after the meter has been completely filled. Fixed a bug that prevented the health pack respawn timers from displaying correctly after a player experienced latency. I actually never experienced that, or if I did, I never noticed. Arcade. Fixed a bug that could cause the announcer select your hero voice line to play during the end of the match screen after elimination games. Never ran across that. Fixed a bug that prevented the Z's from appearing above a sleeping enemy during the elimination games. Interesting bug. I'm actually glad that they fixed that because those visual cues are important for your teammates to follow up on. All right, competitive play. Fixed a bug that caused your first win to appear as a loss in your career profile. I thought they fixed that a while back. I remember reading that before. Like reading that exact same patch, unless that was a PTR patch. Fixed a bug that prevented some settings from being properly displayed in the summary when viewing 3v3 elimination presets. Clarified an error message that appears when a player attempts to exit the settings page with an invalid combination of settings. Fixed a bug that caused the lightning from health packs. No, I'm an idiot. What? Fixed a bug that caused the lighting from health packs to appear on capture the flag and elimination maps even after the health packs had been disabled. I don't even think that's really a bug. That's more like they baked the light into the area, and I guess they just, unless it's all dynamic. I don't know. I'll have to look at that again. But I know they use a lot of fancy light baking or into the textures to actually do some of those really nice visuals that you have. Let's see. Fixed a bug that allowed Torbjorn's armor pack ability to function even after being disabled in custom settings. Well, that's good. I mean, anytime you want to play by custom rules, you want to make sure they actually work. We got some hero bug fixes. Fixed a bug that prevented players from hearing the voice line that typically accompanies their ultimate if they executed the ultimate after being stunned. I'm assuming that means after getting hit by McCree's, I can't even think of what it's called, but that ability, you know what it's called. All right, fixed a bug that could cause Diva to become stuck if her mech was killed just as she summoned it. Hadn't seen that, but I'm glad they fixed it. Fixed a bug preventing Genji's sound effects from playing if he used his primary attack immediately after a swift strike. Fixed a bug that prevented Orisa's movement from slowing while she fired her fusion driver. I'm glad they fixed that, actually, because the fact that she is slower with her fusion driver really does help balance out how much damage she can do. She's kind of like a lighter version of Bastion, especially with her clip size. Fixed a typo in Orisa's satisfied with protection voice line. That's game breaking right there. Fixed a bug that prevented Orisa's supercharger from being destroyed if run over by the payload. I didn't think that was a bug, but alright. Fixed a bug affecting the animation speed on Reinhardt's rocket hammer, causing the weapon to feel unresponsive while swinging. Fixed a typo in the description on Roadhog's Junkenstein skin. Again, literally unplayable. Fixed a bug that allowed enemy players to detect Sombra while stealth was active if they were within a certain distance. And I had so many people tell me that it was intended. Blizzard confirmed that it was a bug. It was fixed in the PTR, and now it's fixed to live. So you were never supposed to see Sombra revealed if you were within close proximity. Her stealth ability is meant to actually be a complete invisibility despite your proximity. The only thing that's actually supposed to bring her out is if she starts firing or if you manage to hit her, kind of a spy check thing. So I'm glad that they fixed that. And for the love of all that is holy, that is how they intended it according to Blizzard. So... Fixed a bug causing Symmetra's hair to take on an unnatural appearance with her Vishkar or Architect skins were equipped. Never saw it. I did see the ribbon glitch with the Oasis skin that would alter the way her helmet was on her face. It was pretty weird. Fixed a bug with how Widowmaker's grappling hook interacts with the flying drones and on Oasis. I guess you could kind of fling yourself up with them, and it looks like that wasn't intended. All right, maps. Fixed a bug on Volskaya Industries that prevented the ice from appearing broken when players fell off a ledge to their death. Literally unplayable. fixed a bug that allowed players to reach unintended locations on the Temple of Anubis, and fixed a bug that allowed Sombra to reach unintended locations on Eichenwald. Sombra is the new Reaper. Truly. Because the old patch notes, it was always Reaper reaching unintended locations. User interface fixed a bug that caused the Heroes of the Storm promotional portraits to appear locked even after being unlocked. Fixed a bug that could cause an error message in chat if you attempted to spectate a new player while already spectating another player. Fixed a bug that could cause the chat window to be placed too high on the main menu, blocking menu options. Fixed a bug preventing the UI from correctly showing which heroes are unavailable in limited duel games. And fixed a bug that prevented text from wrapping in the player report text box. So, as a short recap, we have a brand new assault map, 2-point capture map is how I'd think of that. The Horizon Lunar Colony. It's pretty exciting. I enjoy it. It is a big change in terms of layout, especially on similar maps like Temple of Anubis. It's very structurally different. It definitely favors flankers, and I think that it actually, on the flip side, also makes defense more difficult. I do not know if they're going to alter things. I know that they changed health pack locations and health pack types on PTR prior to bringing it to live, even after it was initially released. I didn't play the map as much as I would have liked to because the initial release actually had a major memory leak, and so I did not put the time into it for fear of it killing my computer once again. We have 3 new, potentially meta-changing, especially with Reaper, changes. Reaper absolutely got a buff. Roadhog undeniably received a nerf. And McCree received what I would call a slight buff. We're going to see how things shake down. And one of the things that's actually worth noting, right, when we're talking about metagame changes, is that indirect nerfs and buffs exist, okay? So when you have a character that's pretty much considered to be a hard counter to another character. Let's take Soldier and Pharah, right? They're a classic example. Pharah, of course, flies. Okay, her movements are very difficult to hit, and many characters shoot projectiles. What I mean by projectiles is that their bullets are actual physical objects that are calculated along a path. This is fundamentally different from what is known as hit scan, where you pull the trigger and immediately damage is calculated at the target. So characters like McCree and Soldier 76 are hit scan, and what this means is that since bullet travel time does not exist or matter, even in instances of favor the actor, your hits will hit if you aim at the target. This is why Soldier 76 is a hard counter to Pharah. Now, let's say that Soldier 76 received 10 less bullets in his gun, right? His pulse rifle. It would be a nerf to Soldier, but it would be an indirect buff to Pharah, especially since Pharah herself really only has 2 hard counter characters, one that's really usually the most used, which is Soldier, and then Torbjorn's turret, which a lot of times people do not take Torbjorn seriously in competitive, which I actually don't understand. I have the best win rate personally on defense on Hanamura with Torbjorn over any other hero. And on Temple of Anubis Point B, if things are going south, I pull out my Torb and again have a very high win rate with Torbjorn over other heroes, especially when Pharah comes in to try and ult, because if I can take her out with the turret while she's ulting, it's a game changer. And again, if they reduce the firing speed of Torbjorn for his turret, it would be an indirect buff to Pharah. So every time that adjustments are made, they are actually increasing and decreasing the viability of additional characters. Right now, Winston is in a great position. And the more Winston I see played, the more I also see D.Va played. Now, D.Va did get a pretty good amount of play, but I'm actually seeing Winston being played more now, and D.Va played more now than I did see Reinhardt. I'm also seeing Orisa being played in a lot of situations over Reinhardt. So these changes, they help keep the community fresh. They help keep things interesting. So keep them coming, Blizzard, but keep it reasonable. And please, leave Roadhog alone. Leave Roadhog alone. So that's my piece on this today, though. Thank you so much for joining me today for these Overwatch patch notes. My name is Carl. Thanks for watching. And hey, let's keep doing the thing, and I'll see you next time. Later.